everyone. This is Dr. Bakshi Khurdi, founder, Ray Academy Swiss. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to be an effective communicator. Communication is a key to your success. And if you know how to say the right words at the right time, you have hit the jackpot. Yes, guys, half the battle is won if we pay attention on the 10 barriers to communication that I'm going to discuss with you now. The very first barrier is fear of making mistakes. We're all afraid of making mistakes because we feel, what are others going to say? So it's important for you to understand, do not be afraid of making mistakes. We are human. We can make mistakes, but we should learn from our mistakes. The second is lack of focus or eye contact. When we are talking, it's very important that we have to maintain the eye contact with the other person who is in front of us. The moment the eye contact is broken, we lose connectivity. So it's important, focus and pay attention on the person with whom you're talking. Sometimes we have attitude barriers. When we don't like the person who is in front of us, we just start talking half-heartedly. So it's important, do not be half-hearted. Interpersonal barriers, that is point number 4. Or sometimes when we don't like the person, how he or she is dressed, or how he or she is talking, or what he or she is saying, automatically we have an interpersonal barrier. We stop listening. We stop connecting with that person. It's important when you are in a formal conversation, pay attention on the things that you want to pay attention, and then the connectivity will happen on its own. Other problem that we often see is the gender barriers. Sometimes some of us are not comfortable communicating with men or women. So if you are a man, you may not be feeling comfortable to communicate with a woman because of your cultural bias or because of your cultural upbringing or other factors which cause that hindrance. So it's important when you are communicating, you don't have to think about man or women, him or her, an adult or a kid. You need to focus on the person who is in front of you. And depending on the situation or depending on the conversation you're going to have with the person, just focus on the content. Focus on the material that you want to communicate with him or her. The other biggest factor that is often the cause of miscommunication or misunderstanding is language barrier. Yes, it's very important that we have to be comfortable if we do not speak the foreign language or if we are not comfortable with the local language of the country that we live in. If you are not comfortable, start with the basic words of that country. Start with the words that make you feel comfortable in terms of pronunciation, in terms of understanding. And if need be, always use a smartphone. What is it for? Technology has to be used at the times when it best needs to be used. The other big barrier in communication is cultural barrier. Yes, depending on certain cultures, where some people are comfortable looking in the eyes and talking, where some people are comfortable shaking hands. When we talk about cultural barriers, it's a mix of written as well as oral communication. So in certain ways, body language plays a very, very important role in terms of connecting with the audience. Some people, they shake hands, doesn't matter man or woman, but in certain countries, you have to be careful, you have to pay attention. If it's a woman, do not give your hand first. The woman should give the hand first, which means that she's comfortable shaking hands and then you shake hands. A firm handshake or a lean handshake. Of course, when we say in terms of body language, in terms of showing confidence, a firm handshake is always a very good one. But in some cultures, when you shake hands very strongly, it may not be considered good. So again, depending on where you are, which country you are, which culture you are going to practice, pay attention that you act accordingly. Then comes the next one, which is emotional barriers. Is it okay to show your tears? Is it okay to show that you're excited about something? Is it okay to show that you are not excited about something? There are different ways that you can express yourself, and emotions play a very important role there. So, again, as I said, depending on whether we are in a formal or informal communication, we have the right to choose how much of showing emotions is okay and how much is not okay. The other factor, which sometimes can be a problem, is perceptual barrier. When sometimes we see people are laughing, or when sometimes we see people are talking and suddenly they keep quiet, we assume that they are talking about us. We assume that they are discussing us. We do not like sometimes what we see. Maybe it's just a perception, but after all, it's the human mind that starts making the calculations and understanding or having an intrapersonal conflict with ourselves that maybe this is not okay. And last but not the least is the physical barrier that we are afraid to exhibit in day one. Sometimes we are okay talking with the people that we are comfortable with, but when we are in front of a huge audience or large audience, we are afraid, we feel scared. We are afraid sometimes of making mistakes, of making grammatical or the way we are pronouncing something, especially when we are with group of people with whom we are not comfortable. So physical barriers could be how close we are with the people, how close we are in terms of distance or in terms of emotional closeness. When sometimes we are comfortable with the audience, we just talk normally. But if you're not comfortable with the audience because of language, because of culture, or because of knowing them to a specific limit, we start stammering or we start making silly mistakes that we have no control on. So it's high time that we have to think about ourselves. It's high time we have to make a decision. If I need to communicate effectively, I need to overcome these 10 barriers. I hope I was able to connect with you to make you understand how you can be a better communicator and connect with your audience in any scenario. Looking forward to connect with you. All the best.